Welcome to the must-watch show for real estate brokers seeking wealth-building strategies. Discover proven tax strategies to maximize wealth for real estate brokers.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. I'm your host, Logan Freeman with Midwest Commercial Real Estate Advisors. Today, we're joined by special guest, Jake Crandall. And today's episode is going to be jam-packed with actionable insights on how commercial real estate brokers can stop overpaying in taxes, think about some strategy, and start turning commission income into real long-term wealth. We host this podcast, this show, LinkedIn Live show, for one simple reason, that clarity beats noise. And I can tell you this, there is a lot of talking heads out there on what you should do with your money, and we're going to create some clarity around that today. You know, I do believe what's missing kind of in the ecosystem of content is grounded, market-specific insight from people actually doing the work, the people working with the brokers, the investors. We've got somebody here to talk to you about that today, so I'm super stoked about that. Here's our team. We're growing and growing intentionally, I will say, but I've got 6, 8, 9 people on the team now. Had to count them. And I'd love to round it out with one more individual. So if you're a high value type of person that likes a AI driven ecosystem to focus on building business using digital marketing and social media, and you have some real estate experience, please do reach out to me and let's have a chat. I couldn't be more stoked, man. I left our weekly sales meeting on Monday, and I just kind of like sat back for a second, and you know, those are jam-packed sessions because I only have everybody in the office once a week. You know, it's like, hey, you got to go do your thing. The rest of the week, that's fine, but we do need to huddle up on Mondays and talk through things. And even with everything going on in the world, which I feel like I've said that for literally the last 7 years. So like, what makes right now any different, right? Pick a time, anytime, and think about what was going on in the world. You could probably find some tough things that were going on. But March 2026 was a very interesting and volatile month. All right. Which makes today's conversation with Jake extremely timely. Right? Jake's a CPA and CFP who works exclusively with commercial real estate brokers to help lower their lifetime tax rate, okay, while achieving the long-term goals through thoughtful tax and financial planning. And Jake also had me on his podcast, the CRE Broker Playbook podcast. I was on that, right? I've been on.
Yeah, it's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Okay, I was going to say, I just haven't seen it out yet. You know, Jake's got so many guests that he's got to get. He's just lining those bad boys up. Right, everybody wants to be on Jake's podcast.
Wish that was the truth.
But that whole show is dedicated to finding out what works, what doesn't, and what it really takes to build a real career in real estate brokerage. Based in the great state of Texas, and helps over 190 brokers in 30-plus states make the most of the complicated tax code. So, Jake, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Logan. I mean, we've only talked a couple of times, but I've been following you for a while. And just the brief amount of time we've spent together, I really respect your boldness to step into real estate and lead by example, and to bring people in and hire people and do something different in real estate brokerage. And I think you are seeing the fruits of that boldness right now.
I appreciate that, man. You know, it's not easy. And I was texting with one of my members that's in our mastermind. We're going to have you on. We'll get you booked up. My business partner, Tyler Cobble, is just a little busy opening up a new hotel in Nashville right now, but we'll get that figured out. And he was like, man, I should really start a podcast. And I was like, well, yeah, you definitely should. And he goes, but I have imposter syndrome. And I just asked him 2 quick questions. One, did Steven Schwartzman have all of the credibility before he started Blackstone? Well, go read What It Takes. Fantastic book. by Steven Schwartzman? No, the answer is no. And then let's go to the tech side. And did Amazon, Jeff Bezos, have the credibility to be able to start a bookstore, online bookstore? I think not. And there's many of those types of scenarios that you can play out. And the only way that you get over imposter syndrome, this is directly from Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, is you just keep the promises that you make to yourself every single day. And so he texted me just a couple hours ago and said, all right, Q2 Rock is to get 3 episodes launched. And I said, that's fantastic, man. I mean, you'll look back 12 months from now and say, my gosh, I'm so glad that I started that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, too, on that front, listeners are starting to pour in. So I just want to give a little bit of housekeeping. If you're live here on LinkedIn, which a bunch of people are, drop your questions in. Everything around financial planning, tax strategy, commercial real estate brokerage. Jake and I got you covered today. But just getting back to that talking point was like, if you plant a seed now, I love this idea of like having all of these things going on, all of which take action. They require action to get them going, and letting them bake, right? It's like the trout line with fishing. Get those lines out in the water, right? And just let them sit, okay? But it requires a lot of action to do that. And my wife oftentimes says, she goes, well, I don't know LinkedIn Logan. And I'm like, LinkedIn Logan is real Logan. If anybody knows me, they know that's me and that's who I am. It's just kind of an inside joke. But at the same time, she said, it's really difficult for people to be willing to kind of put yourself out there because of the fear of failure. Well, let me tell you this. Athletic background, trying to start golf a couple years ago, I fail a lot. And failure is one of those things that, to me, really is just about learning. As somebody said, there's no win or lose as long as you learn. And so that's a really important component as you're starting something new. And now having 3 children, 7 and under, it's like, Daddy, I don't know how to do that. No, you don't, but you have to try. That's the only way that you can get going. So anyways.
Yeah, on that front, like I've got 3 kids, 7 and under as well. I'm doing a lot of coaching, like T-ball and flag ball. And like, I don't give a rip if we lose.
That's right.
But what I do care about is competing. And whenever you're trying to go do something new and you're setting that quarterly rock, if I'm going to get 3 episodes launched, you're going out there and competing. And I don't care if it sucks, but like, you got to get in the game. Absolutely.
Get in the game and then stay in the game. Somebody I study very closely is Alex Hormozy. And he says a lot of things that really, don't resonate with people because they don't want to hear it. But it is reps. I was talking to the group last night. I said, Logan, how many cold calls have you made in your career? I said, well, let's do this calculation real quick, right? And we got to the point where it was like probably around 15,000 cold calls that I have made in my career. And 90% of those failed, right? But when somebody gives me an obstacle or an objection, or I have to redirect something, acknowledge, clarify, and redirect, man, it just comes naturally now, right? It's like, and this is a little bit off topic, but I just realized that I have now, being 36 years old, I turned 36 last month, I have now been doing things for 20 years. Now, that's crazy to think about, right? But like, I started working when I was 14 years old. I started cooking at a catering business when I was 16 years old. And I've legitimately been cooking briskets, smoking briskets for 20 years now. And so for Easter, I cook a 15-pound Wagyu brisket. And people are like, in the first 20 people that went through the line, I mean, there was barely any left. And people are like, what is this? And I'm like, you know what that is? It's 1, a really good piece of meat. But 2, it's 20 years of trial and error and using different cooking techniques and, butcher paper versus foil boats and all these different things and different rubs. That's what you're experiencing today. So Jake, give us, 20 years or so of knowledge, man. What do brokers have a problem? Do they have a tax problem, or do they have a strategy problem?
Yeah, I would say they have an opportunity. I'm a firm believer that commercial real estate brokers live in like the sweetest spot of the tax code. And what I mean by that is, one, you're self-employed. Two, you're a business owner. Three, like most of the time you don't have any employees.
Mm.
And four, you're a real estate professional.
Yeah.
So if you go look back at the tax code and how it's evolved over time, it seems like it always gets better for people in those buckets.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity to reduce your income through business expenses. You have the opportunity to reduce your taxable income through way bigger retirement contributions than an employee could. You have the opportunity to reduce your taxable income through the qualified business income deduction,
Yep.
which I'm sure we'll dive further into today. And then ultimately, like in brokerage, like I think of it as you're early in your brokerage career, you're building this money making machine. It takes a lot of money or lack of money and a lot of time, but now you get it built. And now you get to decide, what are you going to do for your wealth building machine? Like, how are you going to convert this money making machine? Like, you can't sell your brokerage business. Like, maybe some people can, but really that's not a common thing in brokerage. So how are you going to turn that income into wealth?
Yeah.
And the opportunities there, like in real estate, being a real estate professional and materially participating in investment properties, you can now do a cost segregation study, take some bonus depreciation, offset it against your brokerage income, and we're going to keep rolling.
Yes.
So there's a lot of opportunities to take what's going to be the biggest expense of your life, which is taxes, and dramatically lower it in a way that matches broker in Idaho or broker in Florida's like vision for their life.
Absolutely. I love how you reframe this into an opportunity. And the four things, I just want to repeat those. Number one, you're self-employed. Number two, you're a business owner. Maybe those are the same thing. Number three, you're a qualified real estate professional. And what was number four? No employees, right?
You have no employees. So like
Mhm.
if I have an employee and I want to put money into my 401k, I've got to use the same formula to theirs. And so that's going to cost me money to put money in their 401k.
Yeah.
If I don't have any employees, I can put 72 grand in my 401k and not have to worry about matching anyone else.
And this tax code evolution, you say, continues to get better for those people in those four buckets, right? And so I always think that the tax code kind of gives you a roadmap, right? And love them, hate them. A lot of people are on both sides of it. Our president has exploited that tax code but it's not something that other people haven't done either. It's just he's on a different stage with that. But it gives you a roadmap on things to think about. I mean, the other component with real estate brokerage is you could think about opportunity zones. They're going to incentivize certain things, right? Incentivize certain things. And William Wallace, thank you for showing up. He
Let's
says,
go.
well said.
My coworker, Dubs.
All right.
Love you, Dubs.
Love you, Dubs. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for showing up. I bet you are hitting the golf course with Jake here in a second. You beat him if you get out there. But let's talk a little bit more about that, right? What the evolution of the tax code and getting some strategy in place? How can you become more proactive versus reactive? And I'm going to plug what I've been telling everybody here recently, the 5 Ps: proper preparation prevents poor performance. I just keep commenting on people's LinkedIn posts. I think that's one of those management principles that in mantras that's been a little lost and a little bit like looked over. But like, I think that's super important. And I win business. I build trust by being prepared. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's probably people that work harder than me. I don't know a lot of them, but I'm sure there are some. But I will tell you this, being prepared for everything that I'm doing has never failed me. So let's talk about that. How do we become proactive as real estate brokers, qualified real estate professionals versus being reactive, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like what's unique about real estate brokers is you start at zero every single year. Like we have no idea what you're going to make.
Yep.
And B, the income can be very volatile and differing from 2025 to 2026 to 2027 and volatile to receiving 500 grand in Q1, 0 in Q2, 100 in Q3, and then 800 in Q4, right? Like very volatile. So one of the reasons folks come to us is A, cash flow management, and then B, like reducing their taxes. So I think like if you're one of our clients, like unless you haven't been responding to our outreach, like at this point, we've already done 1 or maybe 2 tax and cash flow plan updates for you. And we're talking about 2026. Like most folks are still trying to get 2025 taken care of. And like, yeah, 2025, our clients are still on extension for 2025 and we'll file their taxes for them. But we already have done detailed tax projections for 2025. We've paid in what they think they're going to owe. And we're on to 2026 as early as January. We're talking with our clients about, and even if you don't work with us, this is something you can talk about with your CPA or do on a pen and paper just by yourself is, hey, what do I think I'm going to make this year? When do I think that money's coming in? Let's figure out what my business expenses are. Like, what are they typically? Like, do I need to buy a car this year? And if that all plays out, like how much would I want to put in a retirement plan? And then again, if all of that plays out, like if I'm an S-Corp, like how much would I need to pay myself in wages to like optimize my taxes? And then with all of that, it's like, okay, I need to set aside for every dollar I earn from brokerage, you now know, like I need to set aside 15% or 25% or 40%. If God help you live in New York City, like set that aside so you're not cash strapped when it's time to pay taxes. Like the worst thing, like to like stop them of a real estate broker is finding out in the next 7 days that you need to send the IRS 50 to 200 grand.
Right.
That just is absolutely gutting. Like I hope that like if you do find out you owe 100 grand, that someone already communicated that to you in December or January. Like none of this stuff should come as a surprise. Like it's not rocket science. It's not complicated. It just requires a little bit of effort, a little bit of planning, and the right professionals in your corner. So I think that like my goal is with the planning that we do, I want to provide a better, like let's think about the W-2 employee at AT&T. Like they got a $220,000 salary. They're going to get a 20% bonus in March of every year. They know what's being withheld in taxes. Like I think we can deliver an even better cash flow like model for our brokers than even a W-2 employee. Because what a broker has is they have the ability to pay most of those taxes in December every year. So instead of paying taxes quarterly, a lot of times you can just put that in a money market account or high yield savings account, let it earn interest, and then pay taxes in December. And you don't have to decide on your 401k until December. You don't have to decide on a lot of these things until December. So there's so much time to let the year play out and look for real estate investment opportunities or decide you're going to hire a coach or like any of those things that I do believe that brokers can take a like problem and turn it into something that's like even better than like their W-2 peers.
Yeah, great reframe, man. 100% agree with that. And some questions that everybody should be asking themselves, right? How much should I be setting aside each quarter or annually? You know, do I need to make estimated tax payments? How do I minimize what I owe next April, right? What strategic moves can I make before year end? Man, whenever I became a self-employed person, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, I guess it was now, I started putting money in a SEP IRA, just maxing that bad boy out every single year, right? There's 20 to 50 grand every single year that I'm not being taxed on. This blew my mind, right? And every time that we do file extensions because of all the K1s and all that good stuff. But, you know, we typically will have $15,000 to $25,000 refunded, you know, on every single tax season. And that's, you know, I don't know if that's optimized, but I will tell you that utilizing a lot of the tools that you have talked about, cost segregation and bonus appreciation, qualified real estate professional, business owner, QBI, all of those things matter. And holy cow, it's a big difference between what you make and what you keep, right? And that is a shift, I think, for a lot of people who get into this industry. thinking about themselves as a business and being able to utilize all of these strategies and the tax code to their benefit. But I do want to ask you the idea that there's a hidden cost of cheap advice, right? What are some of those things that your clients kind of come to you and say, well, I read this, or I listened to this, or I saw this, that might be misunderstood, right? Like what is that? Because there's two different, I have found this. There's two different CPAs out there. There's two different CPAs out there. I'm sure there's probably many different types, but two main ones. You got your compliance person who's going to make sure all this stuff is, in code and compliant, all that good stuff. But there's no planning there. And then you got your strategic CPA that's really thinking about how to optimize for you guys. So like the compliance idea is really not optimization. Let's dive into this a little bit.
For sure. And I think there's a ton of great compliance CPAs, some bad ones. And I think there's some good strategic CPAs and some bad ones as well. This is where I think it's really important, and I'm certainly biased in this, to have a niche provider. And I think if you're a real estate broker watching this or listening to this, like you understand like the value of a niche, of being a guy that does warehouses by DFW Airport, right? Like you're that guy, you know how it's underwritten, you can get tenants in and out, and you can serve landlords well. I think the same thing applies to the tax code. Like it is very complicated. There's a wide range of laws and incentive structures for different types of businesses and employees and employers to take advantage of. And that's why we've decided to focus on commercial real estate brokers. Like we are financial planners first and foremost, who built like an accounting and tax planning business for commercial real estate brokers. And that was done based on feedback we got from commercial real estate brokers we knew and we served. It was, my CPA is not really like helping me think throughout the year. And what y'all are providing as financial advisors, like, is nice. It's going to help me retire, but I think there's something better that you could do that would actually serve me better. So we answered that call and we created a strategy service for commercial real estate brokers. The problem with the compliant CPA for a commercial real estate broker is, like, when I'm looking at this chart, is like filing returns, meeting deadlines. Those are all good things, but reacting to income and not planning, that's what's going to cost you. And a lot of times it's no fault to that CPA. Like you've engaged them for a pretty reasonable fee to just file your tax returns, but they're not incentivized to help you think through your ever-changing income, the opportunities to write things off, the opportunities to modify your salary for your S-Corp to maximize the qualified business income deduction, or to change your retirement contributions. They're just asking you what happened, and they're going to put it down, and they're going to put it in the language that the IRS understands. That's like a compliant CPA's core job, is to translate your economic activity into a language the IRS understands, so that no one's knocking on your door. Like our job is to do those things as well. But on the front end, it's like, I want to be side by side with Logan saying like, hey man, like how's the year looking? Like, let's get a projection. Okay. Like your tax rate, like it looks like it's going to be 27%. Let's set that aside. What about like investments? Like, let's talk about your money-making machine. It's going. Do we need to do anything to make the money-making machine go up? Like one thing I really respect about you, Logan, is you're doing all of these things, but it's not just you doing it. Like you've delegated so much of this stuff to other people so you can be at the highest and best use of your time. Like, so I tell brokers, before you go invest in real estate or 401ks or anything, like, let's talk about getting a coach or a virtual assistant or something like that, so we can make the money-making machine bigger. So yeah, I mean, that was long-winded, but I think
great points.
Like, and at a core level, like a properly managed S-Corp, just that structure alone is going to eliminate in most states about $6,000 of taxes, eliminate $100,000 you make. So that's sort of like the cost of not doing it right. Like we probably had $4 or $5 million brokers last year hire us that were not S-Corps. They were told they were not worth it. They came to us. The S-Corp alone eliminated 60 grand in taxes.
Wow.
So there is a cost to not having the right professionals in your corner.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, let's talk more about that. I mean, other than the S-Corp, or maybe let's just double click on that. I mean, where do you see, brokers kind of structured incorrectly? Maybe is there a certain threshold that it makes sense to be thinking about being structured that way? Let's dive into this a little bit more. I think this is an angle that a lot of people aren't thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, the S-Corp can be very powerful, like you said, but a lot of times the way I communicate with clients and prospective clients and brokers is like, it's not like, it would be so nice for you all, like if it was just a S-Corp button you push and it worked and like you didn't have to do anything, but it's really like a button you push that uncovers like 7 to 10 other buttons. And each of those buttons needs to be pushed into a different level each year based on the income you generated. And that's like, and if you're not adjusting those like buttons or levers or radio dials exactly right each year, like you're not making the most of the S-Corp. And I would rather you like just stay self-employed, Schedule C 1099. The general threshold, like, look, it's different for everyone. It's different based on state. It's different if you're married or not. It's different if you're switching from W-2 to S-Corp versus 1099 to S-Corp. But where I tell brokers to like reach out to me is like, once you like are confident you're going to be close to netting to you from commissions, like over 150 grand, reach out to me and we'll talk through it. I think like where it really becomes like a home run in most cases is like 300 grand of income. But if you're married, it might be slightly higher. And if you're in a certain state, it might be slightly lower or slightly higher.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of nuance to tax code. But yeah, I think like talking to someone that knows what's going on once you hit or like 150 to 200 grand, that's like when it really makes sense to start taking the first steps.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it sounds like people need to reach out to you and have that first discovery call and discuss that. Right. And, I think that one of the things that you mentioned previously was, this playbook or this step-by-step process. I think I have this conversation with a lot of younger brokers on a regular basis, and they basically say, well, I need to go buy real estate, make sure that I can, take some deductions on there. But are you really ready to do that? Right. Mm-hmm. And is there, so you've got a sequence, right? There's strategies that are in order. What are the first things that people should be thinking about? And I have found, in my life and in business that, the first couple things in a playbook usually have the highest marginal return. As you go down the list, a lot of times it's like, okay, now we're truly optimizing. But if you do 1 through 3, you're like 80% of the way there. So get us 80% of the way there, Jake.
Yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing, like if I'm a new broker, is one, it's like stay in the game, like work a second job if you have to, like build up cash, try to avoid debt, and then make those first couple years, get rid of all that debt, build up some cash, build up a year of living expenses or whatever it is that will help you feel comfortable. And now let's start thinking structurally about our income and how we're receiving it. At that point, like the number one play that you can run once the S-Corp is worth it is the S-Corp. Like on 300, let's say you make 500 grand and you're single. Let's talk about the qualified business income deduction. That like it's at the bottom, but let's call that the foundational piece, like the number one thing. That's if there's 500K of net income running to you, real estate broker, like the S-Corp is essentially going to make sure that 100 grand is not taxed. So you're only going to be taxed on 400. Whereas if you don't have an S-Corp, it's going to be 0 because you phased out. The QBI deduction is available for everyone, but once you hit a certain income level as a real estate broker, it goes to 0. unless you have the S corporation in place.
Got it. Yeah.
But then when you have the S corporation in place, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get the 20% deduction. Like, it becomes a formula where it's going to be the lesser of 20% of net income or 50% of W-2 wages. So that's the number one thing I would say brokers get wrong who have S-Corps, even with CPAs or other professionals, is they're not optimizing that salary.
Yeah.
And now you can't just go optimize the salary just to get the maximum deduction. Like, if you were ever audited, the IRS could say that's not a reasonable salary. The only thing the IRS tells you is it needs to be reasonable. So our job is to sort of split the uprights of reasonable salary, optimal QBI deduction on a case-by-case basis for each of our clients.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the biggest deduction, because like 401k, real estate, even like HSA, those are all like tax deferrals. Like, you're not paying tax now, but someone's going to have to pay taxes later at some point. But on the QBI deduction with the S-Corp, that's taxes just being eliminated. Like, they're just out of the system.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you this. If your head is spinning about what Jake just talked about, it's because he lives and breathes that right there. Okay. So you definitely need to reach out to Jake, see how you can optimize this, because that nugget right there, so much value. Thank you, Jake, for walking us through that. Man, you're in the process and continuing to really, interview high earners, commercial real estate brokers. I mean, what have you seen? What separates some of these people from the ones that are just trying to get started or maybe have left the industry, man? I know you've interviewed quite a few awesome people so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the things that separate the guys who've built that money making machine and then turning it into a wealth building machine, being ultra focused on the money making machine and not letting shiny objects in the wealth building world distract them.
Yeah.
Right. I think they understand like the value of a professional, like in the financial planning and accounting world, to like take care of that. They understand the value of a coach. They understand the value of a virtual assistant, so that they can be focused on what they're ultimately paid to do. And then on the wealth building side, I think having a very clear plan of what they want to do. Like, I want to have a $20 million net worth by the time I'm 55 years old. And because I know if I do that and 10 million of it is in liquid assets and 10 million of it's in real estate, then I'll be able to take 400K out a year out of the liquid portion. And then we can just keep building the real estate and I won't have to be a broker anymore. So I think getting real clear on what your idea is of building wealth and starting the process of like executing that plan and
Absolutely.
sticking to that plan. And that plan can always evolve, but the most successful brokers are not just haphazardly putting money into a bunch of different types of deals that they don't really know a lot about. They've got a plan of a type of asset or a type of operator or type of operators that they want to invest in. And they're doing that. And they're also putting money in stocks and ETFs and building wealth in like a comprehensive, like designed way to get them where they want to go.
Absolutely.
That would be the question I ask, is like, where do you want to be in 15 years? How do we get there? You probably don't need 25% returns a year to get there. Like,
right.
$1 million. Like, it's going to be pretty powerful if you get 7% returns.
Absolutely, man. Well said. I'm excited to continue to follow the show and continue to see you interview awesome people, man. So what are you reading right now? What are you listening to? What's your favorite book or podcast?
Right now I'm listening to a lot of Masters preview podcasts.
Okay. Yeah.
Friday. Favorite book? Gosh. Right now I'm rereading Mere Christianity for the third time. It's always a good one. And then I'm also reading the new George Saunders novel, Vigil. Okay. He wrote Lincoln in the Bardo, about halfway through Vigil. It's great so far.
All right. Awesome, man. So you're into golf, obviously. Big weekend coming up. Who are you taking? Who are you picking?
I think Xander. He's had a tough year and a half or so. But what people forget is that he finished like, I don't know, top 12 in 2 or 3 of the majors last year, despite not having a great season. So I think he's a sleeping giant. I think you could probably get pretty good value on him in whatever pools you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's the pick right there. I can't tell you because I have no idea, but I do love watching and I love everything about it. So commercial real estate broker has a big commission check that hits tomorrow. What do they do first?
They need to know what percent of every dollar they earn that year is going to taxes. They need to make sure that gets into like a high yield savings environment or money market environment and let it earn interest till those taxes are due. And then I would look at my emergency fund, and ask the question, like, if I don't receive another check for a year, how long can I make it?
Yeah.
And make sure that, man, I think like for a broker having 12 to 24 months of living expenses in a cash account, like, it's just so powerful.
It is. Yeah, most definitely is. I've been on both sides of it, and I can tell you it's powerful. Okay. It shows up every single day. What's the highest impact money move that you've seen commercial real estate brokers make?
I mean, it's got to be just like the optimal use of an S corporation.
Yeah. You got my wheel spinning now.
Yeah. It works, and it requires effort, whether in like your time or your money to get it done correctly. But like there's an extremely high payoff on it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know we've talked a lot about the S-Corp, so let's exclude this from the last question. If a broker only fixes one thing, what should it be?
Man, I would, as a CPA and financial advisors, I've been in lots of like mastermind groups and communities, and I would look at, like, if I'm not involved in something like that, it's like looking at what you and Tyler are doing or anyone else or a coach, and like getting out there and learning from your peers and what they're doing, like, or operationally or with technology, and making sure you're up to speed on that stuff and building a community and brokers, not just in your city, but across the country, that are where you want to be, and learning from them.
Beautiful, man. Jake, if folks want to find out more about what you've got going on, how they can talk with you about this strategy, point them in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, connect with me on LinkedIn, Jake Crandall, CPA. We've got a website for CREbrokers.com. But LinkedIn is probably the best way to go, and just shoot me a message, and there should be a Calendly link on there to schedule a call with me. Super happy to talk with you.
Amazing. I am on the website right now, and Jake's email is also available on the website, so you can find him here. Here's the link right here for CREbrokers.com. Jake, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Logan. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, dude. We're going to continue to stay in touch. Very excited to hear how the 9 rounds goes as well. And if you're interested in commercial real estate investing, if you're an owner trying to figure out, should you sell, refinance, hold the property, what's available, what's going on, feel free to reach out to us, www.mwcreadvisors.com. You can also connect with us on all the social media platforms. Jake, once again, man, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for spending time interviewing people, talking about these things, and bringing that information to everyone for free. You know, I've been doing this for 7, 8, 9 years now. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and all the knowledge that you just dropped today should get people's wheels spinning to head on over to your website and connect with you. Again, I want to put it up on the screen for CREbrokers.com. Jake's super active on LinkedIn, so you can connect with him there. Jake, appreciate you, man, and we'll be rooting for Xander this weekend.
Let's go. Thank you, Logan. Have a great day.
You too.